We're back to the Neil Haley Show / Authors Corner because I know that our guest has written books as well as been in movies and everything. First, I first want to welcome my co-host Frank Fiore. Frank, how are you? I know this guy and I, both Pittsburghers. He lives in LA. I live everywhere, but I'm in Pittsburgh again. But you're going to enjoy this conversation, Frank, with Richard Rossi. So Frank
Yeah.
Fiore, Richard Rossi. Richard, how are you? Let's go with the quick summary of your life really quickly, of your movies, acting, writing, and then we'll get into your latest project.
Well, as you know, being my Pittsburgh friend, I grew up in Pittsburgh. I played in the bars and nightclubs of Pittsburgh as a boy on guitar. My father was a jazz guitarist. We played in the bars and nightclubs there every Friday, Saturday night. Um, I got into the ministry in my young adult years and worked as a minister. And then I kind of journeyed from scripture to script and got into writing creatively. My first film was Sister Aimee, the Aimee Semple McPherson story about a woman that was an evangelist in Hollywood in the Roaring Twenties who mysteriously vanished at Venice Beach in 1927. And then my second film was about, as you know, Neil, our beloved hometown hero Roberto Clemente, to me the greatest right fielder ever. I made a
That's how
film
we
about
we
him.
connected because I was so interested because of Jamie and
Yeah.
Siobhan, and Jamie's killing it. Even though
Oh
he
yeah.
had the getting but I'm so glad he was able to recover from the injury and the way he's recovered, but doing so well in acting. And Siobhan is the sweetheart. And that was all
Oh
how many
yes.
years ago? I guess 15, 14 years
Yeah.
ago. And I
Yeah.
just
Because
reached out and I found out about the Clemente film and was part of the whole deal. And that's my IMBD right there, Richard.
yeah,
So
exactly.
after,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the Roberto Clemente film starring Jamie Nieto as Roberto. That was, and we were able to premiere it there in Pittsburgh on Roberto Clemente's birthday. And my son-in-law, who has worked for the Pirates in the front office there, we have all these Pirates connections. And then my last film, Canaan Land, kind of processed some of my experience in the religious world because I played a preacher in that film. Then my current one, I wrote a children's book. I co-wrote a children's book with one of my childhood friends, Kelly Tabor, called Lucy and the Lake Monster, and it's coming out as a movie later this year. I play a grandpa, and I just became a grandfather for the second time, by the way.
oh my
I have
gosh,
two
congrats.
granddaughters now, but I play a grandfather, and my granddaughter, played by this actress, Emma Pearson, her and I go looking for the sea serpent Champ, who lives in Lake Champlain. It's a lake that borders
Champ. Yeah.
Vermont and New York. So that's the children's book that just came out that we're in post production on the film. We're dealing with the special effects to put the sea serpent in right now, and I've never worked with special effects this much, so it's a real interesting, fun process.
Wow, good, Frank. Questions for actor, producer, director, writer, author. Go.
Well, as Neil said, that we have my book, trying to get my book Cyberkill produced into a movie. We have a couple of people working with us, the director, the producer, or the self-producer. But we want to try and get this thing produced. So I'm trying to figure out where do we raise excuse me, where do we go with this? How do we raise the money or get some organization interested behind it? We were looking at streaming people because they need a lot of content, but we haven't had much luck getting into the streaming people to show them the information that we have. We have a script, we have the screenplay, and we have a director's that's kind of temporary holding the director spot. And so now where do we go from here? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, you know, Frank, you're really ahead of 90% of the people because you got the script and the director and all those things. So the old traditional way is you have to find someone to greenlight yourself, and you go to these different companies and pitch them, you know, your synopsis and you know, and try to get them to fund it. But if that doesn't work, it doesn't mean you're not going to do it. Like, you can do it outside the studio system now. Like with crowdfunding, I've done a lot of crowdfunding on, you know, GoFundMe and Indiegogo and things like that. There's ways to make a film independently if you don't get a big entity to greenlight you. I always say greenlight yourself, because with digital cameras and editing on the computer now, you can make a film yourself, you know, and make your own movie. So, you know, it sounds like you got a lot of elements in place. I know two things that help sell these things if you're trying to sell it to a bigger entity is the poster is one thing. Now I don't even have a poster yet for Lucy and the Lake Monster, but we're in post production. But the poster is something that's worth making sure it's really good, because sometimes they make decisions based on, like, as writers we think they want, read the whole book, but I find a lot of these people, like, I mean, I'm a real reader. I just saw a book the other day that was my father's favorite, From Here to Eternity. It was made into a film with Frank Sinatra, Burt Lancaster. And this was over 1,000 pages that I've read this novel. My friends are like, you read that book? But like nowadays, like sometimes things are sold on a poster and a trailer, like if you can
Well,
possibly shoot and edit a good trailer.
well, not to interrupt you, but yes, we created a sizzle reel.
Oh, good.
We spent the money to create the sizzle reel. Went through the whole process, local actors, all that stuff. A producer here in town.
Mhm.
I worked with him, and it cost about $50,000 to create the sizzle reel, but the hiring around
Wow.
doing the other stuff.
I'd
So,
love to see
Wow.
that.
so we have it. In fact, if you uh, it's no longer on our site. I don't know why they took it down, but at any rate, if you go to cyberkillmovie.com, it's cyberkillmovie.com, we have a whole explanation of what the movie's about,
Oh,
who's
that's great.
who's
And
involved. We'll have an investor deck through one of the
yeah.
people involved. So, but like I said, it's kind of stalled. We're just not doing
And
it.
then that's where I could get things rolling, Frank, but I keep trying to get in touch with your guy. Isn't this funny what a podcast can do, Richard? We all are friends and now we're together.
Yeah.
And Richard is a guy. So here's the thing, Frank. Richard is connected. So, Richard, let's talk really the book really quickly. And then later, if you go to his IMDb, you're going to find out Richard's worked with a lot of major people and he's on red carpets with very famous people. He knows this industry in LA. He's a real LA guy. This your production company that's going to do the movie, Richard?
Yes, yes. We took a big step of faith. I wanted to film it at the lake where the story happens, which is up in Vermont, New York, and I took a step of faith to shoot there. It took us about a month. I had just had 3 surgeries and almost died, and my doctor said, "You're crazy. You're not strong enough to go shoot a film." But lo and behold, I kind of went by faith, and what I didn't think through logistically was this little town, Port Henry, New York. It was a town that struggled economically, and they make their money in the summer because everyone comes and rents cabins on the lake and everything. So although it was like a volunteer cast and crew for the most part, um, we still wanted to make sure we housed and fed everyone well. And the cost we got into, I couldn't believe it, because they jack up the rents in the summer. But we got through the thing and we shot it in the summer, and now we're in post production, and it's about this guy Champ, the plesiosaur. And I had a nice bond with the actress Emma Pearson's her name, who played my granddaughter. I've always loved kids and work with kids, and my kids tell me, me being their father was like just like a third kid to play with, because I have to confess I wasn't like a real disciplinarian. They said it was more like a Santa Claus figure, but part of that was I was raised very old school, and I think I wanted to swing the pendulum maybe to the other extreme. But so I always got along well with kids and love kids, and so I had a nice bond with the actress, and I think that's going to translate on the screen because she plays my granddaughter.
Fantastic. Frank, you're getting education today about your film. Any questions for Richard before I gotta go right into specifically enough, just highlighting, I guess, his biggest accomplishments, so people definitely see this film's going to be really well done, especially what his success rate. But go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, well, again, I told you that any help that you could send our way for the cyber kill. And but what were some of the popular movies that I would recognize that you were in your
Well, I tell you, there's one I just did, and you can watch it free if you go to Tubi, Tubi, and put in Canaan Land, Canaan Land, Canaan Land. That came out about 2 years ago, and Variety and Hollywood Reporter, all the big Hollywood magazines reported we were on the list for best film consideration, and it's kind of a modern day Elmer Gantry, if you've possibly remember that film, a 1960 film. I play a con man preacher in that film, and I fall for a sincere Christian woman, and it starts to get to me, because I'm kind of using her and manipulating things, and she starts, Rebecca Holden's a real lovely actress who plays the leading lady. She was in that show Knight Rider. She played the real pretty mechanic that fixes the kit car for David Hasselhoff, and we have a lot of people in that film that you'd know. Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, is in there, and Cindy
I didn't know
Williams.
you had Linda Carter in that.
Yeah, and Cindy Williams, who passed, was a really lovely person on Laverne and Shirley, and different ones that have cameos in the film like that. Sally Kirkland, drawing some blank. Oh, Louis Gossett Jr. is in there.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah, so it's a real nice film. That was about a couple years ago, but I've acted in quite a few of the TV shows, you'd know. In fact, my dad was a Navy man. He was in the Navy 8 years in the Korean War. He's buried there in Pittsburgh in the Veterans Cemetery,
Okay.
which I like to go pay my respects to my father when I'm in Pittsburgh. But I was on one of the first shows I was on was this JAG, and my dad was in the Navy, and I have an uncle in the Navy and everything, and I didn't think through that any of them would see it. I was just trying to hustle and get some work. But I was in an episode where I pull up this chest out of the ocean on this boat and on this big pulley, and it was a very physical thing. I actually almost got hurt, but I pull up this pulley and swing in this heavy, looks like a big pirate's chest, and I grapple the thing and pull it down in the boat, and we open it up, and it allegedly shows that FDR knew the Pearl Harbor attack was coming before it happened.
Oh,
It's
wow.
kind of a conspiracy theory kind of a thing.
Okay.
I'm not saying that is the truth or anything, but so I'm opening this up with the other seamen and the admiral and everything. And I tell you, my uncles were so excited. They say, we saw you on that. They were, it's kind of really exciting for them because like that's our nephew. It was a real small blink and you miss it part, but it's kind of cool when you're on something that people do know like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. A lot of interesting stuff you got going. Richard, best place people can connect with you. Where can they go?
Well, the website for our latest book is lucyandthelake.com. That's a good one. It has a lot of stuff on there and how to reach me. Let's see. I'm on Facebook, Richard Rossi actor, facebook.com/Richard, I think, oh no, Richard Rossi Jr. Maybe it is Richard Rossi Jr. The Twitter is Champ Movie HQ. Champ is the name of the plesiosaur movie. HQ is for headquarters. That's Instagram and Twitter is Champ Movie HQ.
Awesome. Such great stuff, man. Great catching up. It's been a lot of time. Again, I had Rebecca Holden on probably 3 years ago,
Oh,
and
did
then
you?
I had you
Oh,
on probably 3 years ago because you gave me Rebecca. I don't know if you came
oh,
on
okay.
too.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
forget these things. We do
She's a
so many
really
interviews and go figure, but
I'm
we
so glad
appreciate.
you had her on. Yeah, she's a lovely person and she was a great leading lady. We became such good friends by working on that film together. And she's just a great person to talk with, too. We always had fun on set talking. We'd always have these deep theological conversations.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Richard.
God bless you, Neil, and your
All right.
family.
That was the
Nice to
special
meet you,
simulcast of the Neil
Frank. And
Haley Show and Author's Corner, guys. Take care. Nice meeting you.